everyone, welcome back to the Leaky Lynn Pod. I'm Lynn, and if you have been following my journey, thank you for being here. Whether you've been with me since the beginning or this is your very first episode, I'm truly grateful you decided to spend this time with me. Today's episode is one that's been on my heart for a long time. It's called the Domino effect. What happens after? Most people think a diagnosis is one event, one doctor appointment, one scan, one surgery. But that's rarely how it happens. A diagnosis is usually the last domino to fall after years of symptoms, unanswered questions, misdiagnoses, frustration, and heartbreak. That's exactly what happened to me. So today, I want to take you through that domino effect, not just medically, but emotionally. Because the hardest part wasn't just having a cranial CSF leak. It was living for 6 years without even knowing that I even had one. There was a first domino. Looking back now, I see where it all began. At the time, I couldn't. When you're living it, you don't know you're watching dominoes fall. You just know something feels wrong. For me, it started with headaches. Then came the dizziness, the ear fullness, the hearing changes, brain fog, memory problems. I was like the girl from 50 First Dates, light sensitivity, personality changes, fatigue that sleep could not fix. I kept thinking, maybe next week I will feel better. Instead, next week turned into next month. Then it turned into the next year. And before I knew it, 6 years had passed. When everyone has an answer, but none of them are right, one doctor thought it was migraines, another doctor vestibular migraines, then another doctor claimed it was allergies, and then another ear infections. And every specialist looked at just one symptom. No one connected all of them. It felt like I was carrying a 1,000-piece puzzle into every appointment, and each doctor only looked at just one piece. I wasn't looking for or asking for sympathy. I just wanted someone to explain why my life was changing. Working while my brain was leaking was one of the craziest parts of my story because I worked as a surgical technologist. Every day I helped surgeons operate on patients. I assisted in brain surgery. I stood in the operating room while my own brain was leaking. At the time, I had no idea. Neither did anyone else. I kept pushing through because that's what healthcare workers do. You show up, you keep going. Even when you're struggling, the dominoes that no one talks about. The physical symptoms were hard, but the emotional dominoes, those were even harder. I questioned myself. I wondered, maybe I was the problem. I was imagining things. Maybe I really was just stressed. Maybe everyone else was right. Have you ever been told you're fine so many times that you start believing your own suffering isn't even real? That's a lonely place to be. Then came the impact on work, relationships, finances, and confidence. Eventually, I wasn't just fighting the symptoms. I was fighting to hold on to the person who I used to be. Then one doctor changed everything. He listened. He was willing to try something different. He placed a tube in my ear. My ear continued leaking, and that single decision changed my life. It led to more testing, more answers, more scans, and finally, the diagnosis that I had been searching for, a cranial CSF leak. I cried, not because I wanted something to be wrong, but because for the first time in 6 years, I knew I was not crazy. There was really a reason. After the diagnosis, people think that diagnosis means the story's over. Sometimes it's only just the beginning. There were surgeries, 3 of them. Recovery, fear, healing, learning who I was again. And even today, there are reminders of everything I have been through. But there's also purpose. If I had never gone through this, Leaky Lynn wouldn't exist. The Leaky Lynn Foundation wouldn't exist. My mission wouldn't exist. Sometimes the worst thing that's ever happened to you becomes the reason someone else finds hope. And that's why I keep sharing my story. People have asked why I keep talking about this. The answer is simple, because I know what it feels like to wait 6 years. I know what it feels like to have people doubt you. I know what it feels like to wonder if you'll ever have answers. If one person hears my story and asks for another opinion, if one healthcare provider remembers this conversation during a patient visit, if one family gets a diagnosis months or even years earlier, then every difficult moment I've lived through has meaning. That's why I keep speaking. That's why I keep advocating, because awareness saves brains. Before I end today's episode, I want to leave you with this. If you're listening and you're still searching for answers, please don't give up. You know your body better than anyone else. Keep asking questions. Keep advocating. Read your imaging reports. Read your medical records. Keep hoping. Sometimes all it takes is one doctor, one test, one conversation, one diagnosis, and one story. Maybe that's why you're here today. Maybe this episode is the domino that changes someone else's future. Thank you for listening. Thank you for believing in this mission. I'm Lynn. This is the Leaky Lynn Pod. Remember, one story can save a life. One diagnosis can save a brain. Awareness saves brains. I will see you in the next episode. Please subscribe. Till then.